Lumi is the newest resonator in Wuthering Waves and the first 4-star main DPS that has been released ever since the start of the game. So, let's see how to play and build her, as well as test out how good she really is.
Together!
Lumi is an electro main DPS, mainly dealing basic attack damage. And her playstyle revolves around her melee red light and ranged yellow light modes. Whilst Lumi is in red light mode, which we will call melee stance for the rest of the video, she will have a 3-hit basic attack combo dealing a decent amount of damage. Her charge attack and plunge attack will make her sit on Squeaky and bounce around, dealing damage around and in front of her. And whilst Yumi is in yellow light mode, which we will call ranged stance for the rest of the video, she will change her basic attacks, remove her charge attack and dodge counter, and finally she will gain a special running attack and animation. First, her basic attacks will now make Squeaky shoot a burst of 3 attacks, dealing 31% attack a total of 3 times. Her plungy attack will make her bounce on Squeaky once, dealing 95% attack. But the main way of dealing damage in yellow light mode is by running around. Whilst running, Squeaky will automatically shoot out a glitter, dealing 63% attack. Her resonance skill, Searchlight Service, enables Lumi to change stances. Whilst in melee stance, she will use Rebound, dealing 173% damage, whilst jumping back, automatically dodging any incoming attacks, and switching to ranged stance. Whilst in ranged stance, however, she will use Pounce, dealing 181% damage, whilst dashing in and switching to melee stance. Switching stances using Rebound or Pounce will not generate any Concerto energy for Lumi. Lumi's Forte bar enhances her entire kit, except for her liberation. First, let's talk about her melee stance. Once Lumi has fully recovered her ranged stance bar, her resonance skill will transform into an energized pounce. This pounce deals 183% attack twice instead of only once, whilst also granting Lumi the red spotlight bonus. This bonus will increase her basic and heavy attack damage, as well as the amount of melee stance points recovered per basic attack or heavy attack. This buff lasts for 4 basic or heavy attacks. So, instead of dealing a total of 516% attack in a basic attack string, you will now deal 704% attack, which is a significant upgrade. Now, when Lumi has recovered her melee stance bar, her resonance skill will transform into an energized rebound. This rebound deals 251% attack instead of the normal 173%, whilst also granting Lumi the yellow spotlight mode. This mode will transform her glitter attacks into glare attacks. These attacks will deal 81% attack instead of the usual 63% attack, and they will pierce through enemies, whilst also granting more range points per glare attack. This buff ends after shooting 6 glare attacks, and all of these attacks are counted as basic attack damage. Now, the final part of her forte will be laser. After casting Lumi's auto skill, she will consume her entire forte bar, casting 1 laser for every 25 points for a total of 4 lasers. Lumi can hold a total of 100 forte points per bar, and both energized rebound and energized bounce generates 12 Concerto energy per use. Lumi's liberation
Squeaky, clear the way!
is a nuke dealing 954% attack in an AoE. This has a low cooldown and a low cost, whilst generating 20 Concerto energy for Lumi. Her inherent skills are also not too bad for a 4-star. Lumi's first inherent skill will increase her electro damage bonus by 10% whilst in melee stance. And the second will increase her attack by 10% after using an energized pounce or energized rebound. For her leveling recommendations, I recommend leveling her Forte Circuit and Resonance Liberation first. All of her useful scalings are behind her Forte Circuit, since you'll mostly be using her enhanced basic attacks and enhanced skill hits, whilst her Liberation is a big nuke, which is always good to have. After those, you can level your intro skill and basic attacks. And finally, you can level your resonance skill. With Lumi being a basic attack focused broad blade user, there isn't a limited 5-star option perfectly tailoring to her kit. But there are still more than enough options for you to choose from. First, let's get the Ages of Harvest and Verdant Summit out of the way. They both grant the same base attack with either crit rate or crit damage. And if you had the choice between these two weapons, I would go for the Verdant Summit, since Lumi gains crit rate from her skill board, while she can somewhat use the heavy attack damage bonus. If you only have Aegis of Harvest however, it would still be a good option, dealing a bit more damage than the R5 Autumn Trace. Next up is the Lustrous Razor. It has 587 base attack and 36% attack as its substat. This passive gives 12.8% DR, whilst also increasing resonance liberation damage after using your skill by 7% with a maximum of 3 stacks. This weapon will be pretty good for Lumi, giving lots of attack and increasing her liberation nuke by a bit. Now for the 2 4-star options. First, we have the Battle Pass option, the Autumn Trace. Whilst it does have a low 412 base attack, it also comes with 20% crit rate, which is very nice. But the real reason I recommend this weapon is because of its crazy good passive. Every time you hit an enemy with a basic or heavy attack, you will gain 4 to 12.8% attack with a maximum of 5 stacks. This is a really good passive, giving a maximum of 64% attack, compensating for the low base attack. And for the final 4-star weapon, we have the Helios Cleaver. It also has 412 base attack, but sadly this one doesn't have crit. Instead, it has 30.3% attack. The passive is pretty decent, but definitely not the best. For 12 seconds after casting your resonance skill, you will gain 3 to 6% attack based on refinements, every 2 seconds, stacking up to 4 times, and once you reach the maximum stacks, they will disappear after 6 seconds. Overall, it gives a maximum of 24% attack, so it's definitely worse than the Battle Pass weapon, but it's also way cheaper to get. And finally, here's a graph of the weapons with their respective passives if you'd rather read them. For your Echo set, I recommend the Void Thunder set. Yes, the activation is a bit awkward, needing you to use a heavy attack. But it's only once every 15 seconds, so it's not a massive issue. This set grants Lumi 15% electro damage bonus after using her skill and another 15% after using her heavy attack. And with the extra 10% from the 2-piece, she will gain a total of 40% electro damage bonus. For the active echo, I recommend the Tempest Mephis. That is the 2-hit echo, not the 7 one. It gives 12% electro damage bonus and 12% heavy attack damage bonus for 15 seconds after the second hit hits. For the main stat, you want these stats. It's your standard main DPS list, with crit rate or crit damage on the 4 cost, elemental damage bonus on the 3 costs, and attack percent on the 1 costs. For the substats, in order from most to least important, you want to look for crit rate, crit damage, basic attack damage bonus, attack percent, and finally a heavy attack or liberation damage bonus roll wouldn't hurt. Although you definitely have to prioritize the other rolls over these. With Lumi being an electro basic attack main DPS, she has a couple options for her teammates. Obviously, the first is going to be Sanhwa. Sanhwa has low field time with a really nice auto skill, granting 38% basic attack damage bonus. Pair that with the Moonlit Cloud set and the Impermanence Heron and you have a support with insanely low field time, whilst granting 38% attack damage bonus, 22.5% attack and a 12% damage bonus to top it off, with an extra 20% attack bonus if you have Sanhwa S6. This will be the best support for Lumi. Second, we have Yinlin. Yinlin has decent damage that even continues off field, and with her auto skill granting 20% electro damage bonus and 25% liberation damage bonus, you really can't go wrong with using her. If you equip the Moonlit Cloud set, she will also grant 22.5% attack and 12% damage bonus. And finally, for the supports, you know the drill. Either Shorekeeper, Baiji or Farina will all do great. Shorekeeper has good healing and good buffs, giving a total of 50% crit value. Farina has really good healing with decent buffing. And finally, Baiji. She has good healing with decent buffing. Her buffs are about the same as Farina. The difference is that Farina has way faster field time and way better healing than Baiji.
Squeaky, protect the cargo!
Your average rotation is pretty simple. You want to use your Echo, then use your Resonance skill to instantly enter enhanced basic attack mode. After that, basic attack until you filled the bar, use your Resonance skill, sprint around to shoot 6 glare bullets and swap to melee stance. Repeat this until you have full concerto. Then, you want to make sure that you have filled one of your stance bars completely to fully utilize her laser passive in her forte. Now, let's quickly talk about her sequences. They're quite decent, even though she is a 4-star. Let's start with S1, Partial to be Delivered. After casting Energized Rebound, Lumi will recover 60 stamina over the next 3 seconds. Overall, this is a nice stamina management buff. It will make using Gion signature and heavy attacks a bit easier, but it doesn't increase your damage by a lot. For S2, Energized Bounce and Energized Rebound will ignore 20% of the target's defense. This is a good sequence since these two attacks deal good damage, so ignoring defense will make them even stronger. For S3, the damage of Resonance Liberation, Squeaky Express, will be increased by 30%. If I'm not mistaken, this liberation will have a total of 1240% attack scaling instead of the usual 954% attack scaling. For S4, Lumi will get 30% basic attack damage bonus. Pretty straightforward, pretty decent, not much to say about it. Now for S5, when Lumi has a full bar of stance before using her auto skill, Laser's damage multiplier will be increased by 100%. This is a pretty good damage increase for her lasers, so you can have a total of 4 lasers every outro. And finally, S6, give me a 5-star rating. After casting Lumi's Resonance Liberation Squeaky Express, she will increase all team members' attack by 20% for 20 seconds. This is a pretty standard S6 for 4-star resonators, making them buff teammates as well as themselves for a total of 20% attack, just like Sanwa, Dungeon and Mortevi for example. Lumi is a very fun unit to play. Dashing around, shooting lasers and switching back and forward between the two stances is really engaging, whilst she doesn't even deal that bad of damage. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, may I recommend the video on the screen right now. I appreciate you all. Bye bye.